Hi, Mark. Lovely to meet up with you and begin working on your game. Just a quick recap on the key points that we covered. First thing we changed was your posture. You can see here on the left that the posture is a little bit manufactured. The base of the neck is much more upright than the base of the back. The shoulder blades are being pulled backwards, if you will. Pulling the shoulders back introduce a lot of tension. Having the chin so high and the eyes looking outwards makes it really difficult to turn in a tilted angle freely. So the suggestion we made, or the advice we offered, was to be looking down at the golf ball more, get the ball more in your central vision. To do that, if you imagine you've got something trapped beneath your chin, like a head cover, and then all you're going to do is relieve the tension so that the head cover would drop out. That gets the ball much more in your central vision and creates a situation where the base of the spine can remain the same. The base of the neck becomes a little bit flatter than that. We start to see some curvature in the upper and middle spine, which is a lot more natural than seeing a very flat back. And the shoulders, if anything now, are just pinched sort of downwards and forwards a fraction. Not because you're trying to do that, it's just a product of lowering the neck or lowering the chin and softening up the spine a little bit. So you're in a much more appropriate position to turn the shoulders on a tilted angle. We then started looking a little bit more at face on, which we'll come to now. Okay, so from face on, what we were seeing at the start of the session were that both feet were turned out, but they weren't turned out enough. And there certainly wasn't enough freedom in the hips. So what we had was a situation where the chin was up, the shoulders were back, the feet were a little bit too square. And then on the way back then, there was a lot of restriction in the hips, partly because of your maybe misinterpretation of some key moves, such as the left knee, which we discussed, but also because of some of the advice that you've been given in the past and how the golf swing's been portrayed to you, which is that you create power through resistance. So you can see the very limited movement in the left arm. Lower body looks very awkward, very rigid, just no movement in the trunk whatsoever. So the advice we offered was to turn both feet out more. I like the foot positioning of the right foot there. I'd like to see the left foot turned out a fraction more than it is in this particular piece of footage. So at setup, we've got the chin down, we've got the feet turned out. As you go back, the only advice that's been offered here is to turn your hips as much as you can, as soon as you can. Now, as you do that, the act of turning the hips more frees up the lower body. So suddenly now we've got more straightening of the trail leg. The lead knee is moving inwards and forwards. So every amount it comes in, it wants to flex towards the target line the same amount, and that's going to help you turn on a tilted angle. The hips have turned much more freely. There's more separation between the knees, as discussed, and the shoulder turn has increased, as has the amount that the butt of the club or left arm has travelled. To get that swing to look even tidier, as we discussed, we just need to do the same pieces for longer. We don't need to do anything different. We just need to keep that feel that you've got there going for longer. So that's tidying up the backswing, improving the posture, chin down, feet turned out, turn the hips as much as you can, as soon as you can. We've got a few things down on the mat there. We also had a head cover under the arm. When we look at your original swing, what we see is a right knee that flexes too quickly, a right shoulder that comes out too fast. As a result, the right arm is pulled outwards and the release point is too far behind the golf ball. Now, our goal over the coming sessions is to continuously move this release point nearer and nearer to the right thigh. The model would have the release point in the middle of the right thigh, but anywhere on the right thigh will serve as well. So we're squeezing a head cover beneath the right arm, and we've got the towel folded to increase the angle of descent and to control the radius of the golf swing. So we've got to miss this towel on the way down. As we do that, There's a little bit more linear. The left knee gets a little bit more out in front of the left ankle. The right arm doesn't get pulled out as fast. Still gets pulled out, but not as fast. And the release point starts to move further forward. So if we do a line down from the butt of the golf club, it's more forward in the stance than it was previously, which means that the low point of the swing will occur nearer to the golf ball as opposed to too far behind the ball. We start to see it impact, that the shaft is more vertical rather than leaning back, and the handle is a fraction further forward. The right heel does pop up and the right knee does overflex a little bit for reasons which we'll come to now when we look at the drill that we talked about for isolating the downswing, or isolating the impact position. Here we've got the ball as far back as we can in the stance, so we want the ball ideally opposite the right heel. We want to feel like there is 80% of your weight forward, so we've got 80% of the weight forward. We've got the handle well forward because of where the ball's located and the weight's located, and then from there we're just trying to hit shots, little swings, no need to make a long swing. And when we hit these shots, because of where the ball is in the stance, we're hitting down and therefore out a great deal. So these shots should all be pushed out to the right of target. When you're practicing this in your net, try and hit the right hand corner of the net with every shot. Don't try and make the ball go straight when doing this drill. From that setup position, we're just asking you to punch it forward, keeping the arms as straight as you can. Still keep the same feel going with the hips, always allowing the hips to turn. But the drill is going to encourage and allow you to become familiar with the handle leading at impact, the right knee flexing much less through the hip, and the body opening up at a slightly lesser rate. If you look at the left hand image, you look at the peak of your cap gets pulled round much quicker. That's the rate of rotation we discussed. And again, it's just getting familiar with some key feels and some key moves. But if you look at the difference between the two swings, there is much less flexing and turning going on when you're doing the drill than when making your original swing. So good progress, some nice changes to your overall understandings. It's a process. It's not about getting it perfect straight away. It's about adding more and more detail to the core moves that are pertinent to yourself so that you understand them more and so that you can refine them a little bit more. I'll be posting a video for a gentleman called Ben Pumford later today, and it will be a nice little exercise if you watch. He was the guy I showed you the spectrum of changes that we made over a sort of 12-week period. If you watch a couple of his videos, you'll get a feel for the process that he's gone through and how initially there was a lot of discussion, a lot of key moves, and this most recent recap is just isolating one part of that overall picture that he's trying to achieve. Great session. Look forward to watching this one progress, and I'm sure you're going to have fun learning the system. Well done.